Hey guys, so another video in the shop again. Um, so this is a work of art that I recently completed. Like most artists, I hate it. It is available for sale, but this video is not to sell things because I guess you can't really do that on YouTube unless you're selling real estate apparently, because those videos are all over the place. So who knows? But so not too much about this piece. Because this is a DIY channel and I try to teach you guys things that you can use to like help yourself make money possibly. This is one way to make money, is to make art. A piece like this you could sell for around $5,000 as a starter artist. This is my first canvas piece of art ever in my entire life. I've done like art class stuff in high school on paper. It's pretty good at it. But never anything like canvas. So this is my first one. And even then, this size canvas, just alone, you could put a white background with a black stick figure on there. If you put your heart and soul into it and can be convincing about it, $5,000. So I'm going to charge $5,000 for this. That's more than reasonable. And there's a whole stack of frames over here. There's 6 of them. So there's another 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. There's 15,000, 20,000. This one in the smaller one here, probably 3,000. And those together, I'm gonna say 4,000. So like 1,000 a piece, depending. Most people charge by the inch. Some people charge by the square inch, but because multiplication, length times width, it's not proportional, the price. So what ends up being more proportional is adding this side to this side times 2 ends up being more proportional for making a price scale for your art. Okay, but also each one of these frames, if you do it correctly and it doesn't suck, $500, $1,000, $1,000, $1,500, you know, 300, maybe 100 for each one of these. That's a good chunk of change right there, just in the frames. They need canvases on them, and the canvases need to be primed. So, and you can make your canvas out of canvas. Literally, it's nothing. There's no magic in this. Ta-da! You can get this at Harbor Freight, Home Depot, Lowe's. Not this exact brand, but the same stuff. The drop cloth. You can go to a fabric store and buy on the roll canvas or whatever. I think it's more expensive. I haven't priced it. I had bought this a while ago and it was sitting in my tarp box, number 6 cabinet right there with, it was just sitting there. I had an idea to make some like clothes out of it or something, or I don't remember. But yeah, so that was just sitting in there. So for now it was free because I'd already spent the money on it. I want to go to a fabric store and get some high quality, like quality assurance, more even canvas. But working with this stuff, it's pretty good. There's no, it handles just like, canvas would. It's pretty thick. Let's examine the quality, because I was worried about this when I was doing it in the first place. So that's one layer. Hold it up to the light. Not too bad. Okay, so these canvases are porous, obviously, it's fabric. And it's wicky. Wicky. It wicks things. I don't know what an adjective for something's ability to wick things. You can look that up. Tell me about it. Leave in the comments. But the point is, it's gonna soak up a lot of paint. So you can't just paint on bare canvas. That's why all the canvases in the store that you see are white. They're primed. They have this liquid that they apply to it that's called gesso, spelled Gesso. It's a fancy painter word for primer. It's primer. It's a paint carrier base, water base with some filler. Okay, so gesso translates to Italian for like chalk. So back in the day, it was like linseed oil with some chalk in it and probably some like essentially white glue, like animal bone rendered collagen glue. So those three things mixed together makes a filler. You put it on your canvas, it soaks into the fabric, it builds up. It's a whiteboard. I have a whiteboard. Just use the whiteboard, man. Okay, so you have like, your fibers going this way, and then like this, weaved in between. There's bumps. The gesso or primer soaks in the fabric and then starts building layers on top of this until you have a flat surface that isn't going to soak a bunch of paint into it when you're trying to do your actual art. So you got to prime it. So go to Lowe's, and I told you what gesso is, how basic it, chalk, white glue, essentially chalk and white glue, like wood glue. Get some primer, the cheapest primer you have that goes on a wall in a house. The paint on walls is good quality, or else they wouldn't sell it if it just fell off your walls. So why wouldn't it be good quality for art? It's way cheaper to buy gallons of paint in the home section, paint section of Lowe's and Home Depot. Something I did, they have these like weird off colors that nobody wants. They're gonna go in the dumpster. So they cut them down to like a third of the price, just so they can make their money back. They're called like the oops, mistake, misfit colors. I buy those, like the interesting ones. Even the eggshell, this tan here, that was a misfit. Nobody wanted, some lady named Sharon said, that's not the right color eggshell. There's another eggshell on that strip. This white, I buy this maintenance paint. It's a 5-gallon bucket for like $30 of white. If you just need to turn things white, $30 for 5 gallons. Cheapest white available. It's not very thick. You're going to need multiple coats, but at that price, 2 coats is better. 3 coats is better than 1.5 of something that's double or triple the price. Because if you're at 1.5, you're like, oh, I need just like 1/2 more coat. That turns into 2. You can't do decimals of coats of paint. So I like to do color changing primer. So I bought a gray primer. This canvas ate up about 1/3 of a gallon for gray primer. I did like 2 or 3 coats of gray primer before it actually stopped soaking in. And then I think I did 2 coats of white. If I would have, that gallon's $20, $22 for the primer, $30 if I would have did like 1 coat of primer and then like 6 coats of this. It would have been white. It would have filled it all in. And that first coat of primer, what it does, the primer, I think it has like a base in it so that it kind of etches whatever you're painting on, cleans it. It makes a smooth, clean, paint adhesive surface. So if you make the canvas adhesive, then any paint is going to stick to it, like this cheapest stuff ever. So you can get some 2x4s because they can hold up a house. They're not going to warp. We'll talk about lumber selection, but you can get some cheap wood. make a frame, staple some cheap canvas onto that, and then prime it. And that's like $500 without the art on it. If you're good at art, make art on top of it, and then it goes up by thousands of dollars. So the reason that most paintings like this one is like, bottom line around 3 to 5,000, whatever, I don't know. It's a lot of money. I would be an idiot if I wasn't charging less. If I was charging less than 5,000 for this, I would be an idiot, because I wouldn't be making back what I put into it. You have labor, you have skill, and then the main thing that eats up a cost that most artists are spending on, artists don't know how to use tools typically. I'm in the Burning Man community. I know a lot of artists, and I work in Department of Public Works there. So we fix all of their things and build their art projects. They just bring it and they throw it on the field, and then they cry because they don't know how to build it. And then I end up building it for them, and they get all the credit. It's fine. It enables their burn. But they typically don't know how to use tools. If you know how to use tools and you have creative skills to build cool things like, Victorian doll houses, you have an artistic ability, you can figure something out. If you just want to draw weird wooden structures or something, art, $5,000 in your pocket. Another thing too, artists, they don't typically have regular 9-to-5 jobs. They might as supplemental income, but they see their art as their primary income. So to pay the bills, they have to charge a lot of money. They have to charge themselves for hours worked as much as you do doing your 9-to-5 regular job. So that's why it costs so much. But the point is, most of that cost, bottom line, is they have to make back what they spent on the canvases. And sometimes a canvas this big is going to cost multiple $1,000s just for wood. You know what I'm saying? Especially if some of these guys get crazy into it. They're putting like cross bracing. I don't know why they like it, but this section here, they like it super thin, like that thin. I don't know why a painting can't be any deeper than that right there, but they all want it that deep. So if you have wood that thick and you're trying to build a canvas this big, it's gonna warp, and that's not good, because then your painting's all hanging on the weird wrong, or it's hanging on the weird wrong. You know what I mean? It's hanging on the weird wrong. You don't want that. So to compensate for that, they'll have their frame pieces, which are like the smallest dimensional lumber, and they get like furniture grade because it's got to be super fancy. But because it's so huge, you need some buttresses there and there and there just to hold it square. Because if it warps a little bit, it'll get out of square. And then you have these forces pulling in here, so they'll have like a cross brace here and here and here, and then they'll send one across here. And these are like complex joints where you have to like do this number in your lumber and like fit them together, and it all has to be tight. It can't really wiggle. And this is all out of furniture grade wood, like I said. So that carpentry in there, if you can do that and do it the right way that they want it, way more than $500, like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 just for a frame. And they'll custom order these. They'll send you blueprints and stuff to build it. You need a router and a miter saw, and that's it. Router, miter saw, maybe a table saw. And like a nailer and some glue. And you got to be able to do this kind of stuff and slat the wood together. And it's also, you can make your painting this deep, but like 20 foot long by 10 foot wide or something. Well, let's talk about that. So you can get weird custom dimensions and do like one of these, I wanted to do a strip kind of a thing. So this is a control panel. I see these every day at work when I'm on the job. I wanted to do like a thin strip, so I can do just like one of these sections, maybe like, you know, for different shapes and sizes. People can't fit something this big on every wall in everyone's house. And I want to make smaller pieces so that more people can afford it and have a nice hand painted piece of art. So like stuff like that would be cool, but like extend it. But something I like to do, this is my thing, you don't have to do it. Golden ratio, Fibonacci and all that stuff is basically, and this everywhere in nature is, you know, spirals and how to do that. So like golden rectangles are 1 by 1 by 2 or 3 by 5 or 5 by 8. You know what I'm saying? So get yourself a golden ratio right there, golden ratio, and then you can make whatever dimension. If you have like a 4-foot section, put X up there, do simple algebra, and you can figure out what your length and width are. So all of these are golden triangles. It's more pleasing to the eye to look at something like that. Not quite sure why, but that's a thing. So all my stuff is golden ratioed. And the frame sections. So it's kind of bright with the sun over there coming through. It's nice, I like it. Very cold here in Florida. So something you're doing when you're making your frames, you have your standard 2x4, obviously. My goodness. All right, so you'd have like your 2x4. For smaller frames, it doesn't have to be 2x4. In fact, it doesn't make any sense. But for something as big as what I'm doing on the wall right now, I don't want it to warp, so I use thicker lumber. 2x4, right? So this will be the edge on the top here that the canvas comes across, like this. Comes across here, and then the edge of it is stapled on the back. That's what you're doing. You make your frame, miter cut 45 degree. When you're putting your canvas across, it goes like that, and then staple. And you do like a cross pattern, like your torquing bolts on a flange or your wheel on your car. So you do this side, and then that side, and that side, and that side, boom, boom, boom. Like there, and then there, and then there, and then there, and then there, and there. And you work around, star pattern. The reason that this is beveled is so that when you're painting on it, you don't have, when you're, you know, painting or rolling, this line will show up on the canvas. You'll have like a concentration of paint here, and then where it bends, where it gives without the frame, you won't have as much paint. So this line will come through. So you put a bevel on it so that the canvas kind of hangs above it, so that it can give and not hit that line. I tried, on this one, I'm using 5 degrees. I used, you know, table saw to rip it at 5 degrees. That I noticed was still kind of doing it. So these frames that I have now are 5 more degrees at 10 degrees angle. So a little steeper of an angle. Again, you don't want to cut out way too much of it, because then your wood will kind of want to twist, possibly in this direction with under tension. They say that the fancy artists, there's one on YouTube, he's got a leather vest. It's completely pompous. I'm not a huge fan. If his thing is, if it doesn't sound like a drum, I'm not gonna buy it. Well, pretty drummy. When he taps his, that's what it sounds like. Okay, so they want it that tight. Stretch it like you would felt on a pool table. Literally the same thing. Staple it down. So pull it, staple it, pull it, staple it. I'll probably do a video of that once I get around to it. Right now I'm working on the dollhouse, but I thought about this, so I'm making this video. So once you get that bevel, obviously you don't want a sharp edge here, because that'll tear your eventually over time with vibrations and whatever, it'll tear your canvas and just cut it. You don't want that. You also don't want this one to be sharp either. So you're gonna get your router. I got my router all set up for it, because that's the last thing I was doing. Get your router with your half round. That one. This is kind of convenient, having a box like this. Got this at Harbor Freight, screwed it in the back of my table. Everything's right here. Slide it up, get what I need. Slide it back down, keeps the sawdust out of there, keeps it clean and right where I need it. So yeah, I got it set up. You gotta kind of eyeball it. If you're like me, this is my setup. I don't think I did a video on this. Well, this is a hand-built router table. A bunch of videos on how to do it. This is how I did it. I actually used the router to build it, but so it's a plunge router, so I have to manually adjust the height, which is kind of a pain. I don't have like a cranking mechanism, but when I need to set it up, I just eyeball it. You know, like that's what I want. You can look at the profile on the side of the bit, and that's what the edge of your wood is going to look like. So that's what I try to do. This keeps, the roller keeps it not from traveling too far into the piece. So I don't even need a fence, I just pull it along, and then I get those nice edges. There's still going to be some, you can see that little ridge that's on there. That's not a huge deal. You should probably go back with a sander, get a power sander, just run over that. It'll take you 2 seconds to smooth that edge over. Easy day. Once you do that, you got your measurements on the outside, cut your 45 degrees, put these together. I use a nail gun. I'm kind of getting into a staple gun for stuff like this, because it's 2 nails in every fire. And then run some screws in it. That way your nails don't come loose. I don't use glue on these joints. There's gonna be fabric drum head basically on it. Pulling it in, so it's not really going to separate, but just keep it sturdy. Run some screws in there. Yeah, that's it for doing canvases. If you're not going to do the art, at least do the canvases. Make some money. It's like kind of one thing that you're not going to get sued if it fails. I mean, you might, but then you could just be like, okay, well, it failed. Give me your art, and I'll make a new canvas for it and put it back on there or something. I don't know. Get business insurance. You should have business insurance. I don't, but you should. I think that's it for this video. Like I said, I'll do another video of stretching canvas. There's plenty of videos out there. Don't wait on me of how to stretch a canvas, but we'll do that. So I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, stretching the canvas and priming it. That'll be a video, stretching and priming. I'll stretch one so it's ready for primer, and then we'll stretch one in a video, and I'll move right to priming it, and I'll show you how the primer like soaks in and handles. Yeah, exciting future. All right, stay tuned. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. I'm out.